stage today. I'm Anissa Brene. I'm your hostess with the mostest for the afternoon. Can I get a hey, AB? Hey, AB. I love y'all. And y'all, but he was loud. He was in my ear. He was on my neck. Golly. All right. I'm super excited to be here. Like I said, this is the Vibranium stage. This is the stage, the stage sponsored by a Black-owned. Help me, Mr. Derek. Help
me. Black Tech sponsored Earn Your Leisure Invest Fest. That's a round of applause. There's only Meta, JP Morgan, Vibranium. We gotta support each other. We support this platform, and we gotta support each other. But we got a lot to talk to you about, real important. Yes. I'm gonna sit down.
Yes, and before we jump into this conversation real quick, when you pull your phone out, make sure you're tagging Vibranium, is that correct?
Yes, at Vibranium Gold. Go to the Vibranium.network. We're gonna say that about 10 times, so just get ready for it.
It's okay, 10, 11 more times ain't gonna hurt nobody. Can I get a yes? All right, and last but certainly not least, make sure you're tagging at Invest Festival and at Earn Your Leisure, all right? If you're ready, say yeah. If you're ready, say yeah. All right, let's do this. Mr. Derek Ferguson right here. I'm gonna let you do this.
Let me do it? Okay, great. So my name is Derek Ferguson. I'm gonna stand up for this because this is so important. We have our Vibranium team here. We really want to talk to you about what we're doing. What this is right here, this session is why you're here. This is why you're at the Invest Fest. Because this is going to talk about what can we do collectively to change things. My background is I've been 30 years in the financial industry as a financial executive, 19 of those years as CFO of Bad Boy Entertainment, COO of Revolt TV, CEO of Revolt TV, in the entertainment space. I also now currently work at TIAA, a company that manages $1.3 trillion in assets. So I've seen this whole financial landscape. And I'm gonna give you the bad news first. It's worse. It's worse than all the data you're seeing. It's worse. We're so far behind. And we can't keep turning at the system that's done this to us to change the system. You can't change the system through the system. Goldman Sachs, they're gonna come out with nice, great programs. It's gonna sound good. I'm old, I'm 57. I've seen it after Rodney King. We're seeing it after George Floyd. They're gonna say a lot of things, big numbers. We're gonna promise $10 billion to black women over 50 years. What? Oh, over 50 years. And maybe we'll issue it, maybe we won't. I don't know what's going. Nobody's following up anyway. But these things are not going to move the needle. Why do I know? They haven't moved the needle. I've been hearing about it my whole career. So we have to do something different. If we don't do something different, we're going to be here 20 years from now talking about, look at the wealth gap, look at the income gap, look at all these gaps. It's not going to change. We're only going to change it if we change it collectively. It's not a new concept. It's not a new concept. If you go back to Marcus Garvey, if you go back to Dr. Claude Anderson and Powernomics and all of his writings from 30 plus years ago, it was all about collective activity and collective economics. So what we've done as I was poring over this and understanding the power of this blockchain technology, we really came up with a solution that really allows us to connect not only across America, but connect with Africa and build a real powerful economic machine that can really make a difference. And again, if you leave here with one thing, we can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different outcome. We got to do something different. So we have really the Chief Technology Officer of Vibranium, Garrett Carey. He was the brainchild around the Defluence, which you'll hear about, the influencer network and the technology behind that. He and my son went to college together, University of Pennsylvania, Wharton School. Woo! And they on their own built an incredible solution, which we then brought into the Vibranium network. And then we have just two people that I'm just so proud of, and they're so inspirational, because they're running around spreading this message of how do we use this technology for good? How do we use this technology to build communities and build real differential wealth? We have Lisa Francoeur. She's co-founder and chief revenue officer of Crypto Tutors. So her day job is figuring out how do I educate people in this cryptocurrency space. And she does a great job of it, I know that. She also knows she also understands that the group that's not getting the proper information is us. It's the urban communities. So she's very focused on that. Then we have Vincent Owens. You know, what I love about Vincent, he went and he went and learned this on his own. He's self-taught, self-motivated, and he's now a blockchain aficionado. And we just brought him into the Vibranium family because of his energy. We're gonna need a lot of energy. This is not gonna be easy, but we gotta do this collectively. Where we've gotten beaten in the past, if we've allowed ourselves to be fragmented, right? Once they fragment us, they beat us. You know, we need collectivity, right? Just a quick parallel, and I'm gonna get to this great panel. Quick parallel, I grew up in the Bronx, right? Grew up in the Bronx. I saw hip hop develop in front of me. In 1978, I had 2 turntables and a mic in my house on Soundview Avenue. There used to be a line outside my door for people just waiting to get on the wheels of steel for like a minute, right? So we saw hip hop develop, but what happened? What happened with hip hop? It literally was created by us. And what happened? The Bronx came out of the Bronx. What happened? So in Silicon Valley, when the tech industry blew up, Silicon Valley is the most expensive place to live in the world. When we created hip hop out of the Bronx, what happened to the Bronx? It's like the poorest borough in New York City. Maybe one of the poorest boroughs in the world, right? Nothing happened. You know why? We allowed ourselves to be fragmented. We didn't do anything collectively. We didn't collectively protect the value of that creative and the value of that asset. We didn't set the price and we didn't set the ownership level, right? So we gave away the 90%, and we're happy to keep maybe the 10%, maybe it was even 5%. And we never set the proper value. We're not gonna let that happen again. We're going to center this opportunity around our influence. So we're gonna power, Vibranium is powered by the influence of all of you. And we know how valuable that is. At the end of the day, that's what this Vibranium system is powered by, our influence. And I want to turn to Garrett. Garrett created the first tool of the Vibranium network, which was the influencer network. And I just want to ask you, Garrett, what motivated you to do it? And just tell us how it actually worked.
Yeah, thank you, Derek. How's it going, everybody? So one of the things that we noticed and that we talked about a lot is the fact that Black people are the biggest movers of culture, but we get the least compensated for it. Like, you know, Black Twitter is where all the memes come from, and like little Black kids make all the new dances, and like Black women make all the new slang, all the terminology. But like when it comes to actually, you know, monetizing that and like you know, gaining value out of it, it tends to not be us who get that value. It's usually other people who take advantage and who sort of like commodify it and bring it to a market. And this is not new. Like, this isn't a new system that happened right now. Like, there's a straight line back through, like Derek just mentioned, you know, the commodification of hip hop, which he was there for that. You know, like he was part of that process, and he saw it happen. And you know, even further back, you know, we have like, you know, Elvis getting famous off of, you know, Black music and Black dance moves, and like that goes. There's a straight line all the way back to like sharecroppers and like slavery. Like these aren't separate things that happen. This is all part of one system, and it's always been the case that like the people who create the most value haven't gotten the most compensation for it. And so one of the things that excited us about like blockchain technology is that it allows us to rethink the systems that kind of shape our world and design how value moves around in it. And so we wanted to take that and apply that to the fact that like we are the people who are moving the most culture, we're the people who are creating the most value, and we don't get back from it. Like we haven't been empowered to get the value out of the value that we create. And so what we built was kind of like almost like a Trojan horse, where the outside, you know, the part that we sort of present to the world is just like, we're going to build a system that more accurately measures influence and fairly rewards people who create influence in the world. But the inside of that course, like the secret part that we built it for, or why we built it, was because we knew that like we don't have to make a system to give money to Black people. You know, like we don't have to focus specifically on Black people. We know that all we have to do is make a system that's fair and that actually compensates the people who have the most influence, and Black people will be the ones who benefit because we do that anyway. Like this is just how we live. Like we just put this value into the world, but like we almost don't think about it because it's just natural for us. It's like it's just who we are, you know. And so we wanted to build a system that fairly compensates, and we knew that would like fund value and money back to us because we do create the value. We already do that. We just need a system that acknowledges that for us, and so that's what we were trying to build with Sway.
Great. Talk a little bit about just a little bit about the technology.
Yep.
And how it actually works.
Yep. So how it works is that we the main sort of problem that we were trying to address is the fact that like when you think of an influencer right now, what usually comes to mind for you is just like a very attractive person who takes good pictures, and that's cool. Like that makes sense because those are the people who get the most followers, and you know, based on a very old advertising system, like the most reach, the most eyeballs that you can pull in is where you have the most value. And so when people try to like compensate influencers, they do it by how many followers they have, which is not necessarily the best metric, right? Like you know, you could have 1 million followers and tell everybody to buy a pair of shoes, and nobody buys if they think your style is trash, you know? Whereas you could have 5,000 followers and tell your followers to buy shoes, and if you're like a fashion influencer and they trust you, then you know all 5,000 of those might actually do what you said. And so having a lot of followers doesn't necessarily mean that you have influence. And so what we built was a way to track influence more effectively by using a tokenized reward system to incentivize people to use like tracker links that we can keep track of and give us access to a lot of information that major platforms don't have. So we gain access to this thing called dark social, which is most of the shares that happen in the world don't happen directly on Facebook or directly on Google. They happen because you texted a link to somebody, or because you emailed somebody, or because you told somebody in person to do something. And they call it dark social because Facebook and Google, they can't see that and they can't quantify it. And so what we did was we built a system that incentivizes people to use our technology to share content or products or whatever. And in doing so, it allows us to actually see who actually acts on those like behaviors when you share something. Like, do people actually sign on? Do people actually watch the video? Do people actually buy the product? And what the system does is that it compensates the people who are actually able to create effects in the world, who are actually able to influence people to take action rather than just to see stuff, using our token. So that was sort of the central part of the system.
Yeah, one thing just to note, dark social. So that's like what you're sharing on email, text, instant messaging. Nobody gets compensated for that right now, right? There's no systematized way to get compensated for that. We built a technology where we're going to track where you share content everywhere. And that will create a new way to monetize your influence and your sharing. The estimated value of dark social, this type of sharing, is close to $1 trillion. So before we even get to all of the network effect of having Africa and Americans working together and driving economics in multiple ways, just the access to getting compensated for dark social is a huge value addition that the Vibranium network is bringing to the table.
Woo!
Yeah, let's clap for that. Let's clap for that. I see a question. I'm gonna come back to you, all right? I'm gonna come back to you, all right? What's your name? Jordan. All right, we'll come back to you, Jordan. But right now, I'm gonna turn it over to Lisa. Now, wait, stand up, Lisa. I don't want to just focus on the drip, but the drip report is real.
Listen, man, you gotta put the fancy and fancified. And first and foremost, I am so happy to see all of these faces. If you want to learn how to harness the power of technology to generate wealth, you're in the right place. Thank you, D-Ferg.
Great. I don't even gotta ask you. I'm gonna put the battery. Just go. But so, Lisa, tell me what motivated you. You really grew in the tech space, and we've known each other for a while. You were an executive at LinkedIn. You were really climbing up the ladder in the tech space, and you decided to go pursue crypto tutors. Why did you think that was important, and where are you going with that?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. I feel so honored and privileged to be amongst each of you, because you are not only the present, you're the future. And if you want to predict the future, you got to create it. Saying that to say, I've been in tech for over 14 years. I sold enterprise software for Fortune 100s, as Derek mentioned, LinkedIn, for example, to Fortune 500s. And the reason that I call that out is because I started my career as a fashion stylist. You may or not be able to tell. But I never in a million years thought I would be in tech. I fell upon the industry in 2008. And I'm a futurist by nature. I am someone who wants to contribute to the architecting and engineering of a future, particularly in relation to economic empowerment, a future where we're not only getting seats at the table, but we're building our own damn tables. That's what this is about, building your own table. So, as a Black woman in tech, an executive in tech, one of the things that I noticed consistently throughout my 10+ year career, where are we? Why are we not in the industry that has continued to create the most millionaires of any industry? Period. So naturally, I'm looking around, I'm not seeing anybody that looks like me, and I'm like, we gotta do something about it. So I helped contribute to recruiting Black, brown, women, LGBTQ, etc., underrepresented communities into this space. Secondly, crypto is a microcosm of tech that is the macrocosm. What I mean by that is it's technology, period. Blockchain. How many, raise your hands, how many people know what blockchain is? You heard the term. Yes, love to see it. Blockchain, for those of you that do not know, is a distributed network of computers globally that are validating the legitimacy of transactions. I call that out because this is why I'm in crypto education. I think the biggest barrier to economic empowerment is education. I think that crypto presents one of the most viable means of generating wealth and transgenerational wealth building because of the fact that the barrier to entry is so low. You don't need millions of billions of dollars to get involved. Fractional shares. You can literally take dollars to get into the space. The only, in my opinion, caveat is I want to ensure that we, each of us, are developing an investment thesis that is rooted in an understanding that enables you to make wise investment decisions, okay? Let's give a round of applause for smart, sophisticated, savvy investors. This isn't about investments and making money. This is about ensuring you have the knowledge and the ability to influence your community, to not only teach them how to fish, but build wealth for generations to come. And that's why I'm a part of the Vibranium Network.
Yeah, and just to be clear, you know, we're gonna have Vibranium tokens, but when we invite you to Vibranium, we invite you to the entire network. We want you to be an influencer that shares content and earns tokens. We want you to be a vendor. We want you to be a purchaser of the vendors, goods and services from our vendors. We want you to be a recipient of the loans and grants we're gonna have as well. So there's much more to it. We gotta get out of this mindset of let me just get the hot crypto so I can get my 40% returns. And that's not what this is. That's another panel. That's not this panel. I'm gonna turn to Vincent now. Now Vincent, he's here locally in Atlanta. And Vincent is the energy that we're trying to make sure gains the proper value in society. Vincent is the energy of someone who self-created what he wanted to learn. And that's why I just wanted him on this panel so we could hear from him. So tell me a little bit about Vincent. How did you get interested in this technology? And tell us where you are right now. And as we began talking about the Vibranium Network, you got super excited. And I just want to hear, where is that excitement coming from?
Man, these are amazing questions. How y'all doing? Hey, listen, I'm up because they say success leaves clues. So they stood up, I'm gonna stand up, all right? But check this out. I want y'all to say one thing, all right? I need you to understand that family stands for forget about money, I love you, right? So that's something, first off, that's one of my qualities, right? Within my business, the Vincent Owens Group, we really believe in family, right? Treating everybody like their family and really taking care of people because we do this for the people, right? So a little bit about myself. I'm from Atlanta, 29 years old, you know, and every moment has been manifested. I'll definitely say that. And one thing that, you know, growing up in Atlanta, I know that this is a huge melting pot of colored people. You know what I mean? People of color, people of different ethnicities. It's so amazing. So one thing that I know about Vibranium is that Vibranium is really bringing that inclusion, right? And so if there's so many different people that live in Atlanta, all right, just this melting pot alone, how many of you all feel like you're not included within this society? Raise your hand. How many of y'all feel like you're not 100% included, right? Not 100%. We're not 100% included, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because you're content creators, and I'm a content creator. And as a content creator, we should have a platform that allows for us to be able to benefit from that. Now, my background before I got into blockchain, let's go back a little bit, right? I got my bachelor's in biology from Tuskegee. I got a master's of science in public health. I started.
All right, let's clap that up, Tuskegee.
Yeah.
Lou Tucker.
Shout out to Lou. All right, shout out to Uncle Lou. But I say all that to say, you know, even as a medical school influencer, I have friends that are dentists, they're dentists. I have friends that are medical doctors, and they make so much content on their social medias. But guess who's making money from it? Instagram, TikTok, Google, Facebook, Meta. They're making money off of it, and so we have to say at some point that this ish got to stop, right? It really got to stop, and I'm gonna tell you where it stops. Well, I'm gonna tell you where it starts. It starts here in places like this on the Vibranium stage. So
Yeah. Let's chop this one up a little bit. Imagine if I just told you my proposition to you right now is you're gonna make all this great content. You're gonna make it. You're gonna build this great following. Then you're gonna put it on my platform. I'm gonna be able to earn all the advertising dollars from it. But here's the other great thing I'm gonna do for you. This group that you build, you can't even reach them. You can maybe reach 20% of them, 10% of them every time you post. Because I don't even allow you access to the people you build. We gotta stop that. Like when we look at how is value being sucked away from us, you built your following, this is your content, and you can't even reach them, you gotta pay. Like, you know, on Instagram, for those who didn't know, you can have 100 million followers on Instagram and you'll send a post, it'll only go to 90,000 people.
Deeper, I gotta interject. So here's another thing that's really important for us to understand is that data, your name, your location, the places that you're frequenting, the clothes that you're wearing, all of that information, what that's doing for the social media giants, the Facebooks, the Twitters, etc. They are literally collecting that data about each of us. And by virtue of being able to have such granularity, such specificity with what we're doing online, who we are, they then take those data points and then serve us ads. And these ads have the highest conversion rates, meaning that we're buying what they're positioning because they have such specific information about what we like, what we dislike, our ideologies, etc. Saying that to say data is one of the most valuable forms of currency. It is literally how these companies, in some instances, have become trillion-dollar entities. So what we're talking about on this stage is reclaiming our power, harnessing the power of technology by virtue of blockchain technology, for example, to enable us to monetize on our creative assets. Vibranium, this is all about the global influencer economy. It's really important for us to understand how this technological revolution is putting the power back in our hands. I'm in the education space because I want to make sure each of us has the ability to know what steps we need to take to ensure we're set up for success. So pull up.
So we're gonna add to the vernacular. Hopefully you already wrote down, you can't change the system through the system. The next thing to write down, if you write things down, is get off the grid. Why are we letting people take our followers away from us? Use the grid while it's here, but then let's move off the grid and let's say, hey, guess what? If I have 100,000 followers, maybe I should be able to reach them. You can do that on the Vibranium network and you're gonna get compensated for it. We gotta stop being duped. We're being duped. But throw it back to Vincent, you have something else to say?
Yeah, I did. So I'm a facts guy. So I have a podcast. It's called Coffee and Crypto. You all can subscribe to my YouTube. If you go to my Instagram, which is up there, click the link in my bio. Subscribe to the YouTube. All right. I appreciate you guys. Now, one thing that I really believe in is pulling up hardcore facts. How many people heard of Forbes before? Anybody heard of Forbes? Now look, high energy equals high income. You want to make a lot of money, you got to get your energy up, especially at this conference, right? So they talk about this: blockchain, TikTok, and the influencer economy. What are the connections? There's three main connections between the three, and I want to just share these three because it'll bring it back in full circle for you all right? So check this out. The first thing that it talks about is privacy. She talked about data. Right now, your information is being put onto a centralized network, and so what happens is your information is being sold all over. Guys, we're about to go into Black Swan events. If you don't know what that is, that's cyber attacks. We're in war right now. Russia, the Ukraine, China. These things are happening, and so if you don't know about it, look up Black Swan events. The second thing that this is helping with is reputational damage. What does that mean? People putting out false information, people putting out fake news, people putting out FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So what that allows for you to do as a person in this world is you get to really protect your individual rights, all right, and your privacy, also your reputation. And the very last thing is compensation. How many people really want to get to that money in 2023? Because we're already in 2023 at this point, right? We already in 20. That's the. Hey. All right, but so the last thing is, again, compensation. How do you get compensated in this new world? All right, the technology does not care about the speculation of price of Bitcoin, XRP, or none of it. The technology is going to take effect no matter what, so you might as well be on the right side of that.
Yeah, Vincent. That's why we have the panel. You hear it, the passage. I want to throw it to Garrett, and you can say whatever you want to say, but I did want you to talk about just blacks in tech and how we're building our tech team.
Yeah, I mean, don't tell me I can say whatever I want to say, because I'll just be up here talking about whatever. No, so I want to add on something that Vincent was talking about just now, and also, Derek was talking about getting the most value out of the community that you've built, and the first part of that is getting access to the whole community, because nobody can take that away from you. Like that's just the first part. But there has never been a system built before that gives people distribution in the way that like Facebook and Instagram does, and compensates them for it, but doesn't first take their own cut out of it. Like any money that you get from Instagram or Facebook or any of these platforms, you only get that because they allow you to. YouTube, you only get that because they allow you to, and they only allow you to the extent that they've already gotten their cut. Like you don't touch it until they touch it, and so you're kind of you're under their power, even though they rely on you to make their content. Like Facebook is nothing without the people who are on Facebook making that content. Like it doesn't matter unless you do stuff, but still you're under their power. What Vibranium does, like one of the central parts of how it allows you to take full advantage of your community, is if Nike gets onto Vibranium and says like, I'm gonna spend 10 million Vibranium to endorse this new product that I put out. Every single token, every single one of those 10 million goes to the people who endorse their product. There's not a single one that goes to me, none of it goes to Derek. We're not building the system to enrich ourselves, we're building the system to give value back to the people who create it. And like that has never...
Yeah, clap it up for that. This is for us, this is for our communities, and this could change things. This could really change things.
And the thing that's really special about cryptocurrency and about tokens is that for that company, the company who wants to buy that 10 million tokens, for them to do that, they have to purchase into the network, and in doing so, they drive up the price of the token. And so anybody who's holding the token, like we all benefit if anybody benefits. So like, even if you don't receive those direct tokens, if you're holding any of the tokens, then the value of your tokens is gonna go up just because the demand for the token went up. So just being a part of this network means that we all rise together.
Yeah, and honestly, the name Vibranium, which you gotta know God was involved. Just the fact that I went to the trademark and I went to try to trademark Vibranium and nobody had it.
Not even Disney, just saying.
I was just late night, like, I don't know.
So we own that now.
IP, trademark your intellectual property, please.
I was
Okay,
like,
sorry.
I said, I know I'm not gonna get this name, but the name just signifies collective value, and that's really what we're signifying here. So this is the Vibranium stage. We're a major sponsor of this event, so we're gonna do some things differently. So I'm gonna go to Jordan. Jordan, you had a question, right? Give me your question real quick. Yell it out real loud. All right, come up. Come up. Hurry up. We don't got much time. We're on the clock. Hey, check. Hold on 1 second. There you go.
Awesome. Oh, my bad. So my name is Jordan. I'm from San Bernardino. I'm a barber. But I had an observation. I noticed it seemed like you guys, the way that you guys are going to track everything is through the blockchain. Am I correct in that?
Yes.
Observation. Okay. And then I heard Garrett say something about you guys are incentivizing people to be able to use your technology versus like the dark socials. How are you guys incentivizing people to use your? Obviously, I feel like we're all incentivized, but like the average people, you know what I mean? How are you incentivizing everybody else? We're like the 1%ers, I would say.
Yeah. So
Thank you for the, Jordan.
yeah, thank you. So there are two ways to share stuff on the Vibranium network. One is you can just put stuff directly on the network, the same that you would on Instagram, and we're working with a really incredible team with some people I used to work with who are building a sort of peer-to-peer technology that allows like video streaming from like device to device and allows us to publish media on the blockchain, which is really exciting. Even if you don't post directly to our network, we allow you to attach content that's from other networks to a unique Vibranium identifier. So like even if you wanted to share something on YouTube, for example, or on one of the other platforms, you can attach it to a unique identifier, and then anytime that identifier is used, it keeps track of it, and it knows that it was your identifier, and then it'll reward you for those tokens. So what that means is that, like, you know, regardless of whether you post it directly to Vibranium or if you post it elsewhere, whenever that the link or the access or QR code or however you access it, whenever people interact with that signifier, we will know that it was you who created that movement, and so you will get tokens every time somebody like watches that video or buys that thing. Even if you send it to somebody and then they send it to somebody else, we still know that you started that wave, and so you get tokens every time somebody interacts with that.
Yeah.
Deeper, can I just add one more thing to Jordan's question, because this is super important. To your point around like how progressive the audience is, each of you are influencers within your own community. You're gonna go back to your children, to your parents, to your friends, and so forth, and share the knowledge that you gleaned from the conversations that you listened in on and the conversations that you had. The onus is on us to take care of us, okay? Share the messaging.
Great. We're gonna go to another question now, and then we'll get back to it. One more question.
Wait, is this over here? Sorry, we gotta make sure that the ladies get some love.
All right. I can go over there.
Facts.
Yeah, you go over there. Yeah.
Okay.
And wait, introduce yourself. We have a wonderful hostess.
Hi.
Yeah,
Oh,
sorry.
cool. Sorry, COVID. Just forgive me. Hi, Alice. I'm from Florida. So
I live in Miami.
Woo, let's go. Okay. So you guys are going to be tracking basically our dark social information. How or why would I want to invest all of my information now into something else to where now maybe they can track other information and then make more money off of me because they can't track my text messages like you guys were saying, but now someone does. Now someone can see that I'm sending this to whoever. So now it kind of puts me at risk because now it's all in one place.
Great question, but we have an answer.
Yeah. So we don't actually track your dark social behavior. So we don't know that you texted it to somebody, or we don't know that or who the recipient was, or any of the contents of that text or anything. All we know is that when somebody interacted with it, it was because you started that movement. So we're not actually tracking the transmission of information. We're just tracking the results of somebody receiving that information and interacting with it. So,
And it could be totally autonomous, and it could be totally autonomous as well. So
Yeah.
you won't be identified by anything other than a wallet or some other information.
One last thing. So that's what the blockchain does. So just more education. This new technology, it really empowers anonymity, right?
Anonymity.
Anonymity. You still can't say it, right? But look, you ain't got to be able to say that word to get wealthy in this space. That's okay. All right? That's okay. You ain't got to be able to say it to get rich. All right? Sound like I'm in the crypto too. Get up with you after this. But so long story short, to kind of just piggyback, blockchain technology is meant to protect you, right? To keep you anonymous, right? To protect your privacy, right? And ultimately for you to be issued out an ID that is specific to you, right? Specificity is very, very important. And me coming from a public health background, that is something that's very important to me, is specificity, right? And then also if I go to the doctor, right, the doctors have to keep my data anonymous. That's known as HIPAA, right? So blockchain is like HIPAA to me, right? It kind of reminds me of that, to protect you. So there you go.
Great. We'll take another question over here.
How you doing? My name is Miles from New York.
All right, BX.
My question is about the tokens. Will there be a limit on the amount of tokens that are produced?
Yeah, so our total universe of tokens will be 1 billion tokens, and they'll be issued over time. If you go to all the information regarding the Vibranium Network is on our website, vibranium.network. We have our black paper. We didn't want to call it the white paper. It's our black paper. It's our black paper. Go check it out. You'll see how our supply is released, and you'll understand all of those dynamics. But yes, we will have a limited total supply of tokens. Great, thank you. So, and I'm gonna get to you, but I also, now that we're going to the audience, if you could give the mic to this gentleman right here with the glasses. So one big important part of what we're building is we're building the Africa and America connection. One of our team members here, Eric Bouchard, has tremendous experience in Africa and the financial systems in Africa. And here's a couple of interesting things to understand about Africa and why is it so important. So it's a huge continent already, right? There's 1 billion people. By 2050, that's gonna go from 1 billion to 2 billion, right? And by 2050, Nigeria, which is now the 7th largest country by population, will be the 3rd largest country by population. Last fact, and most important, almost unbelievable, by 2050, 45% of all human beings 25 years or younger will live on the African continent. So when you think about just youth movements, and you think about creativity, and you think about innovation, the potential to unlock all of that on the African continent is so significant. So when we first went out, we went out to Africa first. So all of our signups, people that have signed up to use the network, 2/3 right now are from Africa: Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria, primarily. So we understand how important that connection is, and we understand just the demographics and the growth that's about to happen, and how important it is for us to connect with that.
Is it working?
Yes.
Okay, great. My name is Eric Yishard. My background is World Bank. Hello? Yeah. World Bank. And basically, it's breaking up. There you go. The World Bank basically finances development in Africa, right? Either through loans or through grants. I grew up in Africa. I grew up in Guinea-Conakry in West Africa. Was educated in Senegal. I spent 25 years on the continent. One of the biggest problems that policymakers have is finding jobs for youth, right? They're trying the traditional way, trying to create jobs in agriculture, trying to create jobs in manufacturing. And they can't, because those industries cannot absorb the pace at which youth are basically born. And so you need a solution that shifts the paradigm. When Derek called me, Derek happens to be a classmate of mine, when he called me, he said, look, we're building this platform that would allow people to monetize their influencers, to also trade, to have access to markets digitally. I immediately said to him, I'm in. Because what Vibranium is doing, and I'll give you an example, what Vibranium is doing is that a musician in Ghana who has 5 million Africans as followers, under the current system, the way he is monetizing his followers is that he's being given a discount to sell some product, right? He doesn't own his followers, doesn't have access to them in the way that Derek is suggesting. Now, through the Vibranium network, he can take, say for example, Nike wants to advertise $5 million worth of shoes as their advertising budget. He will show up and he will demonstrate his ability to share those smart contracts to his network, who are going to also share. And on that dashboard, they will be able to see that that Ghanaian singer was able to share and reshare to 5 million of his followers. He's going to make more money on that sharing platform than he will ever make on any other platform. He will create wealth for himself and for his followers. That is a paradigm shift.
Woo!
That paradigm shift, right? And that cannot happen without this platform. Second example, a young artist in Zimbabwe. His best chance of selling his art is if he goes to the artisan market where the tourists go through, and he's able to sell 1 or 2 paintings at best. With Vibranium on his phone, the other side fact you need to know is that Africa has the highest mobile phone penetration in the world. The average person in Africa has 2 cell phones, higher than Latin America, higher than Europe, higher than Asia. He's going to be able to go on his cell phone, open up his Vibranium app, be able to post his artwork to a global community. A Brazilian who likes African art out in Sao Paulo is going to see his art, is going to buy his art, he's going to be able to distribute it. He will have access to a market that he never dreamt he would ever have without the help of Vibranium. This is a paradigm shift. This is the moment. This is where wealth is created for us, by us. Thank you.
Yeah. So we only have a little bit of time left, but we are very present at this Earn Your Leisure Invest Fest. This, we know the power of this Invest Fest and what this conference has done. So we have a booth. When you go into the exhibition area, right to your left, directly to your left is a Vibranium booth. We have a couple of things going on, really exciting. One is, now you know this is the hottest t-shirt at Invest Fest. So anybody who signs up right there in front of it, you're just signing up for information. We just want to provide you the information, get your email address. You sign up, you get a t-shirt. All right?
It's the cotton for me.
Yeah, that's high quality. That's high quality. You know, that's high quality. We don't have the Jordans to go with it, but the second thing we're going to be doing is we will have airdrops of Vibranium as well. An airdrop is once you have a wallet that can hold cryptocurrency, we want to be the first cryptocurrency in your wallet. So we're going to drop some Vibranium into your wallet for free. You could come to our booth. Garrett here is going to hand hold you through the whole process of downloading a wallet, and then once you then provide us your wallet information, all the wallets that we receive will receive an airdrop tomorrow, Garrett? Tomorrow. Woo! So we have a lot going on. I know you all have questions. We want to answer every single question. I'm not going to have a voice when we leave here, but we're going to end with one last question. Young lady right there in the yellow who's been patient. Oh, okay. We're going to do 2 more questions. It's our stage. We're going to change the rules. We're going to set some rules. We're going to change them. All right. We're going to start with the gentleman with the tie and the young lady with the yellow. Okay.
All right. Hello, my name is Solomon. I'm from Dayton, Ohio. I'm going to be starting a startup next week. So it's about to launch.
All right.
So I understand blockchain technology, but just a slight pivot because we have a lot of black people in tech on stage. What is the biggest suggestion that you have as a black person in tech? Because I know there's a lot of influence that happens. The white people have, say, Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, and they're all white. How do we build that influence as black people in tech?
So, just to be sure, just to be sure that I understand the question, you're saying as a black person in tech, what can you do to?
How can we build an influence? Not just with Vibranium, but like just in general, how can we build that black tech influence?
Okay, so just really quickly, and not to digress off of like what we're talking about here with respect to what Vibranium is building, but the first step is to like show up, okay? I've been in tech for a long time, and like the numbers are not as high as they should be. And we've seen a slight regression in the number of black people present in the space. There are a variety of points of entry. There's sales, there's marketing. You do not have to have or be an engineer to be in the space. So Be proactive in connecting with Black people in tech. There are a variety of groups on LinkedIn, on Facebook. Be social, connect with people. There's nothing more powerful than a referral. So if you can get referrals, you're increasing the probability of getting into the space. So there's that. And don't be shy about creating your own entities. You know, the reason why we're talking about Vibranium and building an influencer economy is because we're sowing the seeds of an entrepreneurial mindset that doesn't rely on the entities that have continued to oppress, suppress, and exclude.
Amen, amen. And Luke Tucker, who's the real boss of the whole thing, said we got time for a few more questions. So we'll move on to the young lady here.
Hi, thank you guys so much for having this panel. So I had a few questions as it relates to the logistical components of Vibranium. So I'm curious about small influencers. You guys mentioned a lot about 5 million followers, et cetera, and then also being able to use Vibranium for different like recruitment marketing initiatives. So I work with HBCU students and just, you know, trying to engage them more to come work at my company has been challenging. So what are ways that you think Vibranium could also be useful for corporations to sort of advance their like recruitment efforts?
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, we if you got the impression that this is only about big influencers, then we weren't clear. This is really not about big influence. This is about people that have networks that respond to them in a meaningful way, whether it's 10 people, 50 people, or 100 people, or 100,000. So what we understand is that person-to-person connection, that people are going to listen to it more than they will just randomly getting a message from somebody they don't know. So we do value. This will be, right now, if you have 10,000 followers, 15,000 followers, you're not really going to make any money. On Vibranium, you're going to share content with 1,000 people, 5 people. You're going to make money. So anybody who's able to share content to their network, big or small, will make money. So it will definitely change the landscape in terms of who can make money through influence.
Yeah, I mean, to add something to that, like one of the central reasons that we built Vibranium in the first place was to move away from the idea that like having a big platform is the only way to drive people to do stuff. Like the way that this is built, like the transition away from just sort of like the blunt tool of saying you have X million followers, and so I'm gonna give you some money and then hope that when you share it to other people, they will act on it. We're moving away from that and moving towards, if you share one thing with your grandma and your grandma like buys that or watches that, then you will get a couple of tokens. Not a lot, but a few. Like every single interaction that you create will reward you for tokens. And that is meant to sort of, to move away from the requirement of there being a huge sort of having a huge platform, and move towards everybody who creates value, no matter how big or how small, will be rewarded appropriately for it, like and in proportion to the amount of value that they create.
Yeah, and then I think your second question just about HBCUs and how to use this token and this network to drive marketing, promotion, to connect people. I mean, I think we're building a foundation, and it's a spark. We want people to, one great thing about blockchain and this technology is that it's open architecture. So we want people to build their own solutions around it. So if you're like, hey, I love how Vibranium works, and I think it's an incredible currency. I want to build the Vibranium platform for HBCUs to do X, Y, and Z, and you want to engineer that yourself, you can do that. So that's the beauty of this technology. This is the starting point, and we want people to build on it and continue to enhance what we're doing.
Ferg, I just want to add one other thing. Also, too, in the vein of being an entrepreneur, diversifying your income streams is something that's going to ensure that you're building wealth while you're sleeping. That's also, too, key. Saying that to say there are a variety of ways that one can monetize, and if creating content is one of the ways that you're monetizing, excellent. But also recognize that you yourself could invest in a business that could generate the type of value that would allow for your investment to be triple X, 10X, etc. So what we're doing is providing the technological infrastructure for those types of transactions to occur in an environment where it's not exploitative, right? In an environment where there's also intellectual capital that's being socialized amongst the network. So, yeah.
Yep, how's it going? Hi everybody, my name is Kevin. I work for a digital marketing agency. And so it's funny, like you were talking about all this stuff. It's like, you know, with the algorithm, just want to say that we are all the algorithm and whatnot. So I'm really big into e-commerce and everything like that. So I just wanted to know, so you have all of your vendors in the next room right now, right? And they all probably may have like their own storefront. So my question is, how would somebody like them be able to come into the marketplace, come into the industry and say, get connected to different like affiliate marketers, get connected to different people that like, you know, that are like social media influencers and whatnot, so that they can help, you know, either one as a affiliate marketer get a commission, and also as a brand get more sales, like, you know, drive conversions and whatnot.
Yeah, so that is what we're doing right now is we're building that network. So first thing is every vendor out there should really be signing up to be a vendor on the Vibranium network. We already have 6,000 vendors signed up, and that's going to continue to grow. We haven't even started really marketing it for vendors. So we want vendors to join the network. We're really going to build really essentially the Amazon for our global community, right? And you know, when we were thinking about this concept of commerce, we were thinking about, like, you know, in many parts of Africa where like the marketplace is where you made your money for the week. Like you wake up, you made something in your room or something, you walk out to the marketplace and you're hoping you can sell it because that's gonna fund your meals for the week. This is the same thing. You know, you have your creativity, you have something you're building, you're making music, you bring it to the marketplace. And if you sell it, that's gonna keep you going. But it's that same concept. I love the idea of like the marketplace. We are building the marketplace for all of us to go support it and grow it. So that's what we're trying to do. I'd love to speak to you some more at the booth.
Yeah, to give some context, you know, what we started off with was the influencer network, and we talked about where that came from and how that was built. And so, like me and RJ, who's not here right now, like we only built the influencer part, and that's kind of where we stopped. But then, you know, visionaries like, you know, Derek and, you know, Eric Richard and other people got involved, and they kind of showed us that the same thing that we were applying to this very specific use case, which is giving the value back to the people who create the most value and giving people access to the infrastructure to be able to, you know, build wealth for themselves. They realized that this same concept could apply to a lot of stuff that affects people like us. And so, you know, it started off with influencers, but then we expanded towards the full Vibranium thing now that involves, you know, the microloans that we mentioned a little bit. We haven't been talking as much about that because the subject of this panel is about the influencer economy. But, you know, we're building ways to give people access to capital who haven't had access to capital before, and we're building ways for people to get to have access to infrastructure to like build their e-commerce businesses. And so the whole system, when you put it together, you know, someone can get a loan on V-Finance to start their business, and then, you know, use that to like create products, and then they can get on V-Commerce and then use V-Commerce to sell those products to the Vibranium community and to the world, and you know, then get onto V-Fluence to promote that product and to draw attention to their storefront on V-Commerce. And so you can run your entire business within this network and gain access to these people at every side of the business. And so that was kind of what, you know, expanding Vibranium just outside of influencers to kind of address the value creation problem in general means.
All right, we have one more question over here. We're gonna wrap questions and go to the booth after this. Everyone, by the way, I'm Barmel Lyons. Nice to meet everybody. Woo! Thank you so much for coming up and asking your questions. All right, we're gonna come over to you. You ready? Okay, let's go.
Emmanuel, I'm also a digital marketer. I specialize in the ads for like Facebook, Instagram, just about everything, Google and all that. So with the identifier that you're putting on the content, with the identifier you're putting on the content, with the ability to increase the views using those ads and media buying online and just those type of strategies, will that identifier still track that, or does it cancel out when you start using monetary strategies to increase those views?
As long as it results in an interaction, as long as somebody watches the video at the end or buys the thing, we'll be able to see it. It doesn't matter what you do in the middle.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Listen, we really appreciate you hanging with us. And please come to our booth. We want to leave here. We want to talk to 10,000 people. So come to our booth. We want you to sign up. It's just signing up for information. This is really important. Go to vibranium.network. Like I said, we have our black paper on there. A lot of your questions will be answered on there, but if not, come to the booth. We'll all be there ready to talk to you. I want to thank you. Take advantage of this conference. This is something we got to really understand the historic moment we're in. This is something that has really never happened before. And I love the way everyone shows up. Everyone's showing up to learn, to grow, to be better. But let's not leave here and not think about how we're going to support each other and how we're going to work collectively. Because if we let ourselves continue to be fragmented, we're going to be back here in 20 years. I'm going to tell you right now, I may be on the beach somewhere, I don't know where I'll be. But 20 years from now, we're like, the wealth gap, they're this, they're that. Because we didn't collectively decide to make sure it's not going to keep happening. This is an opportunity with Vibranium Network. It's an opportunity to do that. Let's not be back here 20 years talking about the wealth gap. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, you all don't go anywhere. We want to keep you all here. We're about to roll right into our next speaker, but before we